What's up guys, Michael here. Today I'm going to teach you the way that I shoot and edit hyperlapses. For those of you that don't know, a hyperlapse is basically a moving time lapse. So instead of the camera being still and lapsing time like this, the camera moves while time lapses like this. Now there are tons of ways to actually do this. I'm just going to show you one way that I prefer to do. And the technique that I'm going to show you today is really helpful if you're trying to shoot your hyperlapse on the go. Personally, when I'm walking around a city or hiking, I don't always have my tripod on me, especially if I'm traveling. So this method really works for you if you need to do handheld shooting. So before we jump into this, let's talk about what gear you need. On the front end, all you really need is a DSLR. It doesn't even matter how nice it is. So I'll be shooting this one on a Canon 60, but you guys can use really whatever you have. And for me, I prefer to capture as much of the surrounding landscape as possible, so I like shooting my hyperlapses on a wider lens. So for this one, I'll be using a 24mm. And on the back end of making a hyperlapse, you need some editing software. So today I'll be teaching you how to do it with Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere Pro. But if you're afraid of After Effects, I'll show you a way to do it with just Premiere Pro. So let's head down to the University of Montana right now and shoot this thing. Now, usually when I shoot a hyperlapse, I look for interesting structures or subjects in the area, like the Arc de Triomphe you saw in the Barcelona video. What subjects you pick are totally up to you though, and I think it's cool to think outside of the box and get away from how people usually do it on YouTube and Instagram. Today we're going to be shooting a hyperlapse of the clock tower at the University of Montana. So the first thing you're going to do is turn on your camera and switch over to live view. A lot of people recommend using the grid to line up a point, but I'm a big fan of using the level instead. So to turn your level on with a Canon camera, you just toggle the info button until it pops up. From there, I'm going to zoom in twice and line up the clock with my level. Once it's in focus, I pull the strap against my neck and make sure that the image is level, then I take a picture. Then I take one step forward and repeat the process. It's super important to make sure that you're always keeping your point of reference in your level while zoomed in, and to make sure that your images are as level as possible. So get that red line to turn green before you take the picture. Now, all of my videos are in 24 frames per second, which means that for each 24 photos you take, it's going to take up 1 second of video in post. And now that we have what we need, let's head back to the computer and put this thing together. All right, so as I said earlier, I'm going to teach you guys 2 different ways to put this together. The first way uses just Premiere Pro to avoid After Effects, but we are going to process the photos in Lightroom first. So if you have Lightroom, go ahead and open that up. I'm just going to fix the color ahead of time. So I'm going to come down here and import, and then locate the files. So I called mine the Clock Tower Hyperlapse. Got them all right here, so we're going to go and import them. Boom. So I'm just going to pick one in the middle of the stack to pull up and tab over to the Develop tab. And now it's time to edit this. Let's speed through the edit really quick. All right, so I'm feeling pretty good about how this one looks. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click on my edit. You'll see the little bar there. Select all, and we're just going to hit sync. Now, you'll see these previews are going to start popping up like this. So now as soon as all of these photos have the little plus or minus symbol down here, saying that they're edited, means you're good to go and you can export all of them. So to export, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command-Shift-E, bring up the export option. It's already going in the perfect subfolder. If you have a specific one you want to put it in, you can go ahead and put it there. And let's go ahead and do this. Export, boom. Yeah, so I shot 153 photos, so this export's going to take a little while, so let's go ahead and speed through it. So the photo's finished exporting, which means that we are not done with Lightroom, so we'll quit that and go ahead and bring up Premiere Pro. So this project I already have going on is actually the tutorial that you're watching right now, so it's it's already there set up for me. This sequence on here is a 1080 sequence at 24 frames per second. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and import those photos we just exported. So they are, I'm going to find my photo export folder and select the first one, select options, and then make sure that this image sequence is checked, because that's going to pull all the subsequent files into. Okay, so from there we'll hit, actually before we hit import, I want you to go ahead and look at these dimensions right here and see that is a lot bigger than a 1080 sequence. So these actually are, it's a higher resolution than 4K, so if you were shooting in RAW. So anyways, go ahead and import those. And because this file is just so massive, when we put it in our sequence here and we go to play it, it's gonna have kind of a hard time scrubbing through all the way. As you can see, it's kind of choppy. So what I'm going to do actually is pop over to the editing tab, select the clip, and over in the scale, if you go ahead and decrease the scale, you'll see how much actually like how big this file actually is. So I'm just gonna have it be all the way back, okay? So for me it's like 39, let's go ahead and make it even 40. Now I'm going to render that file, that way we can play it through smoothly. All right, so here we go, playing through. You'll see when you do these, you know, it's not perfect. So there are these imperfections as the camera jolts around and kind of, you know, clanks like this, but there's an easy way to fix it, and it's with our trusty friend Warp Stabilizer. But because this clip right here doesn't actually match these sequence settings, what we're gonna have to do first is right click on the clip or control click on the clip, and we're gonna come right over here to the nest option. Select nest, nested sequence. Now from there, now our effects can actually work. So we're gonna type in Warp Stabilizer, boom, and bring it on top of the clip. So we'll let Warp Stabilizer do its thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and let it render through all of these frames, and then we can watch it through again. Okay, so our clip has been stabilized and I re-rendered that section. So let's go ahead and watch it through. And you'll see, wow, that is so much better. Now it's time for method 2, so we're gonna go ahead and open up Adobe After Effects. And basically the reason that you have to use Lightroom to do the Premiere Pro thing is because Premiere Pro often can't handle the raw files, so processing them in Lightroom gets the color grading out of the way. But the cool thing about After Effects is that you actually can import raw files. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop over here in the Project tab and hit Command-I for import. All right, so now I'm gonna go find my files, those raw files. And for this, I'm actually going to select the first one, scroll all the way down to the bottom one to make sure that they're all selected, so we got everything. All right, and we are going to go camera raw sequence. Boom, that's the button you want to click. So if that's not there for you, just make sure you click that options button at the bottom and it'll pop this up. So camera raw sequence, go ahead and hit open. So it's gonna go ahead and import all those images. From here, I do not care to do any sort of color adjustment. I'm gonna do that in Premiere Pro later, so let's go ahead and hit OK. And then you can drag this in. So just like with Premiere Pro, you're gonna see that After Effects has a really hard time actually scrubbing through these, just because these are, I mean, I've imported 150 whatever raw files into After Effects. So there's no way we're gonna wait for this thing to render to play, but that's okay, because all we wanna do is export it. So to export this, we're gonna go ahead and hop up in the Composition tab, and we're gonna move down to the Add to Render queue. All right, so first we're gonna make sure we go to the output mode right here. Format should be QuickTime. Format options is the next thing we're gonna click, okay? So video codec, what we're gonna change is we're gonna go to Apple ProRes 422 HQ and then hit OK. And then hit OK again. And then next, the output to section right here, we're gonna go ahead and click that. And we're gonna let it know where we want this to go. So for me, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this on my desktop. Okay, I'm gonna title this Clock Tower Export. And then hit save. Then the last thing is we're gonna move over here to the right and go ahead and click render. So it'll go ahead and do its thing and export. All right, so it's done exporting, so we can go ahead and quit. I'm not even gonna save this. And now it is time to open up Premiere Pro. We'll go back in there. So you see we have the Clock Tower export sitting on the desktop, just waiting to get put in that Premiere project. So we'll go back to the Assembly tab. Right click to import or Command-I to import. We're gonna go to the desktop and find that export. So here's our Clock Tower. Again, you'll see same big file size, just what we want, the big dimensions. Gives us a lot of wiggle room to be able to crop in and get the right composition. So we're gonna go ahead and bring this in right here. Again, it's gonna kind of have a hard time playing through all the way. And when it does, it's gonna look kind of janky. So pop back into editing, select the clip in the scale. I'm gonna go ahead and scale it back again. I'll bring it down to 40 to match the other one. And then from here, right click, nest, make our second nested sequence. Now that it's nested, we can add Warp Stabilizer. And let it do its thing. All right, so it's stabilized and we've rendered through it, so let's go ahead and give it a play. Not too shabby. So with the first one, you saw we actually did all the color correcting and color grading in Lightroom. This method, these are just what the photos look like. So from here, you can pop into the color tab, and if you're a fan of LUTs, you can use your creative and go ahead and select which LUT you want to work with and, you know, play around that way. So I'll pick this one right here. You can kind of toggle through, see which one kind of fits. I'll do this one because it's kind of similar to my Lightroom color correction. Gonna basic tweak some stuff. All right, now we can put these two together and play them back to back and see how it goes. I'm just gonna render this clip really quick. Boom, there we go. I actually think I'm better at playing with color in Lightroom than I am at color grading footage. But again, the thing with Lightroom is we had to edit this all the way, whereas this we just dragged the LUT and just made some minor changes. So I hope you found this helpful and useful. And if you have any other tutorial suggestions that you want me to try to cover, then just go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Also, my friend Reid just put out an After Effects tutorial on easy ways to make your titles pop. And he does that in like a minute or so. So I'll go ahead and show you a teaser here, and if you want to watch that, find those links down below in the description as well. Thanks for watching, and make sure if you're not, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Today I'm going to show you how to spicing up your text in 3 easy ways in 1 minute. Let's go.